All right, so the Browns lose to the Chiefs. I'm doing a fill in the blank, just like Doug. The next team to beat the Browns will be blank. You guys need a schedule reminder here? Do I need to run you guys through the upcoming game? For our listeners too, I'll run it through. So it's Houston this week. It's Chicago at home. It's at Minnesota, at the Chargers, home for Arizona and Denver, home for Pittsburgh.
Do we know who they opened with next year yet?
That's wonderful.
I'll say Arizona, which is pretty far off. And I would imagine a lot of people would say the Chargers. That should be a great game. That feels like a game to me where there's going to be a lot of similar things, but I think the Browns are kind of a year ahead of the Chargers, sort of in their maturation process. And I think that might show up in a game like that, even though it's in LA. But the point that people were kind of mentioning about Kyler, man, woo, boy, that just feels like that could be a thing. The Browns go out, they're rolling, they get a big win in LA, and then Kyler comes here and just runs all over the place. And it's okay, well, that come back to earth a little bit. So I'll say Arizona.
Yeah, I'm going with Arizona as well. I predicted them to lose that game when we were doing our prediction pieces before the season. I see that as a tune-up game or a prep game for what Lamar Jackson's going to bring. Also, Jedrick Wills, his health is going to be really key in that one. When you have Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt coming on each side, you're going to need both your tackles stout there. And that with that being up in the air and Kyler being the problem solver he is, it concerns me. And until the Browns and this Joe Woods defense and really just the Browns in general find a way to slow down or hinder playmakers, unicorns like Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, I'm going to be concerned every time they play against quarterbacks like that.
Scott?
I mean, I'll go with the Chargers game. I think that's one of those, you're flying cross country, and I'm not really, I look at the Texans, Bears, and Vikings. Those are all games and just circumstances around those games. I think they should win. Definitely be favored to win. The Chargers game, just not really sure yet. So if that's a loss, you can kind of understand it. But I mean, it's hard to point to anybody right now and say they're definitely going to lose to this team, because the Browns are at a point now in their progression where they should be able to compete with everybody. But going across country is never easy.
Wow. I am going to say week 12 at Baltimore.
Oh, you're going all the way to week 12.
That is hot.
So just to get everybody through, that means after that Pittsburgh game where I ended, at Cincinnati, at New England versus Detroit, and then it's week 12 at Baltimore.
Oh, what did you predict their record to be, Mary Kay?
12-5.
Wow, they're going to go on a big losing streak there after that game, huh?
So yeah, I would have them at what, 11-1? 11-2 or 10-2.
11-2 going into the bye.
Hey, go bold or go home on this pod, okay? I'm not going to say something boring. We've all said the Cardinals and the Chargers. I mean, come on, I got to come up with something different. I don't know if I really believe what I'm saying per se here, but it could happen. And you guys know that this could happen. I mean, they could win all of these games all the way till they get up to, having to go to Baltimore. I still think going into Pittsburgh is going to be hard. Even though Green Bay was horrible this past weekend, it could be hard to go into Green Bay and win in Green Bay if Aaron Rodgers wakes up and starts playing like he did last year. Between now and then, they could win every single one of these games. They could go on a really big run here, and this loss could be what fuels them. So yeah, it might seem crazy, but I don't see an unbeatable team between now and then. I don't see an unbeatable team at all. Obviously it's not going to go like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, to Mary Kay's point, there's got to be a huge belief and sense of confidence in that building, even after this loss to the Chiefs. Remember, this is a Browns offense that averaged 8.8 yards per play in the first half. And again, it really came down to Baker Mayfield poor throw to Anthony Schwartz, but also one, a play that Anthony said he should have caught and a play that Baker said he should have put on the outside shoulder. And then a strange play where Baker throws an interception on a scramble where he was trying to get rid of the ball. I mean, two key plays, and if we want to talk about the punter, that feels exhausted, but y'all get what I'm saying. This is a offense that should feel empowered, emboldened in the way they did move the ball at will against the Chiefs for really 3.5 quarters, and then a defense that is going to dominate up front. And I tweeted it several times during the Chiefs game. Football is a simple game when you're better up front on both offense and defense. And I think the Browns are going to have an advantage through their schedule this year.
Yeah. So as I'm thinking, go ahead, Scott.
I'll just say that I will say that everybody they play over the next 10 weeks before that Baltimore game is looking at the Browns on their schedule and saying that's going to be a tough game.
Exactly.
Right.
And because of the lines, I'm telling you, because of the lines, it's just mauling and grueling to go up against someone who's imposingly bigger, better, and more dominant than you up front.
And it's real easy to kind of go through the schedule and say, oh, well, this team's good, so they're going to lose to them. But that's not going to happen. They're going to beat really good teams this year because they're better than a lot of those really good teams. I'll go with Scott here, I guess, kind of going against what I just said. I do think that LA game is tough. I think, everybody talks about Indianapolis, how they went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. The Chargers go from Phillip Rivers, who certainly wasn't Peyton Manning, but still Hall of Fame quarterback probably, to Justin Herbert, who gets to drive this. We talk about Baker's weapons. This guy's got weapons all over the place too. They fixed that offensive line. They've got some pieces on that defense. That's a really good football team. I think that they are. You're probably right, Doug. They are probably a year behind the Browns. I think next year we're probably talking about them in the same sentence as Browns, Chiefs, Ravens, Chargers, that group in the AFC. But I do think that's a really difficult game. So if I had to choose between LA and Arizona, which is basically what I'm doing, I would pick the road game against the Chargers. But I should have gone before Mary Kay went because she just made all of us boring.
Well, like I said, you know what? Any of those games obviously can go any way. And we know that this Cleveland Browns team, and we all picked them to either pretty much go to the AFC Championship game, right? Or go to the Super Bowl. So if we feel that way about this football team, then obviously they can beat anybody on the schedule. So anything can happen in any of those games. And it's going to be a wild ride. I mean, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this goes down. They could, I think they'll end up somewhere between, 11 and 13 victories, but I don't know. It's going to be fun.